track, trying to turn me back. Got to make this journey somehow. I've got to make this journey. Devil's on my track, trying to turn me back. Got to make this journey somehow. Somehow. Church, I've got to make all the devil's on my track, trying to turn me back. Got to make this journey. Somehow, Lord, I've got to make the journey somehow. Oh, the devil's on my track, trying to turn me back. Gotta make this journey somehow.
How about that time? Could you hear me now? Can you hear me now? Oh, thank you, sir. Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Page. Thank you, Dr. Vaughn. Appreciate y'all. So they are um, telling me that, so I have two different cameras, and one, the sound works extremely well, and one, the camera works extremely well. So that's what we're doing now until our microphone is here on next week. Oh, the Apostolic's in the building. Good to see you, sir. Good to see you. Blessings, New Jersey. Good to see you. Dr. Brian, good to see you tonight from Miami. Pastor Phil, good to see you tonight, sir. Gail will not be in the building tonight, so all of you who tuned in to hear Gail, y'all might as well tune off now. She's not going to be in tonight. She is not feeling well. An adverse effect to a medication, and so she will not be with us tonight. She's been dealing with that all weekend. So we're praying for her. Would y'all pray for her, please? Good to see you, Deacon Sweating from Nashville. Thank you for joining in tonight. We got a few things we're going to talk about tonight. So we're going to talk about should the church reelect Bishop Sheard, and if so, based on what? So I want y'all to get your answers ready. And what things would you like to see different? We're gonna try to probably kill some elephants in the room and just have a real conversation tonight. Good evening. Good evening. Thank you so much, Dr. Smith, for coming in. To those who have partnered with us, of course, you know we're on a 25-25 partnership program that we're trying to get 25 partners that will partner with us and help us undergird the cost expense of the work of doing the Heat Show to provide this platform for those of us to have the conversation. Also, we're not going to talk about it tonight, but this week I was sent the bylaws and the Constitution of Abyssinia Baptist Church in New York. Because they are in the middle of we're getting ready to go into a lawsuit. It's already been filed concerning their election, and I have had an opportunity to review that Constitution, review those bylaws, and we're going to talk about that this coming up week, what's happening up there. Pretty much any church issue is kind of what the Heat talks about, but we are specific to our church. Yeah, y'all pray for Supervisor Gail. She is under the weather. Y'all know she got to be under the weather. Don Jr., good to see you tonight, fam. Good to see you in the building tonight. In addition to that, we're going to talk about Bishop COLBY. I didn't think it was breaking news earlier this week when I was told it, when somebody texted to me and sent me the information from Oklahoma. Yeah, the lawsuits are mounting up at Abyssinia. And so we're going to talk about that because I think they're getting ready to make a huge mistake, but I want to make sure that I've read all of their bylaws and the entire Constitution before I make a comment on it. In addition, we're going to talk about Bishop Marvin Winans tonight from a different perspective. Not so much of what happened and what he said happened and all of the nonsense that I'm hearing about adjutants should have been doing, blah, blah, blah. You know, that's a whole nother conversation. I want to have a different conversation about that. All right. So let's talk first about Bishop Malcolm COLBY. General Board Member Bishop Malcolm COLBY is not seeking re-election to the General Board. Got that word on this week. Actually, I think it may have been Monday. It was Monday afternoon that I received a text telling me that Bishop Malcolm COLBY has decided he's not seeking re-election to the general board. You know what? I'm not playing with you tonight, Don. That we not going there tonight. But I want to say that I think that's an honorable thing to do. I think it's a wise thing to do. Bishop COLBY has served the church for a long time, and he has served prior to being on the general board. He was the chairman of the Extensions Committee. So Bishop Malcolm COLBY is responsible for making dozens of bishops in jurisdictions in this church. Yeah. Dr. Phil said Oklahoma's best. Cause I'm not finna. You know what? I'm not tonight. I am not. I'm on my best behavior tonight. I've come to say wonderful things because you know when you do the right thing or when you do a good thing, then I think we ought to celebrate that. We already know all the others, but I am certainly, it was news. We got it on, I think, Monday. Pretty sure it was Monday. And so we wish him well. He's, again, served a long time. He's going to continue to be the bishop of his jurisdiction out there in Oklahoma. And so that's a good question. That's a good question. With him not choosing to run, that means for sure, if there was any question whether or not there would be anyone, there is not a question in my mind or a way in the world that I could see Bishop Wooden getting more votes than Bishop Dillard. That's not going to happen. I don't believe Bishop Wooden is going to get more votes than Bishop Shelby. I don't believe that either. I think if Bishop Wooden gets in, Bishop Wooden is probably going to get in probably number 11 or 12. That's my assessment of. I think he has greater name recognition than he does support and likability. Again, let me say this, because I know somebody's going to jump in later on who doesn't understand the platform, don't know much about me and where I stand on things. As it relates to Bishop Wooden, I don't really have a problem with Bishop Wooden. I have a problem that Bishop Wooden does not bring that energy to the church. I'm gonna be honest with you. I had this conversation, y'all, this week with someone else, and I was sharing with him. I said, "Listen, man, I would actually have greater respect and much more support for Bishop Wooden if Bishop Wooden would just say what he wants to say." I honestly would. if Bishop Wooden didn't waste time talking about Kirk Franklin and just said what he really wants to say about the chair lady and the first lady and the vice president of the music department, if he just really said what he wanted to say, at least I could stand with that. If he said, "Hey, listen, I don't believe that the saints and the women of the Church of God in Christ ought to be out there dancing and twerking and Soul Train lined up with Kirk Franklin, and this is what I'm standing on," I would actually respect him way more. Because then you're dealing with stuff inside this church and you're addressing it from your perspective. That's not to say whether or not I agree with it or not. It's just I would respect it. And I would think that then all of those who say, Bishop Wooden is an honorable man and he just stands for holiness and righteousness and he just, well, okay. All right. All right. But Taylor Swift, she's not a member of the Church of God in Christ. She's not a member. He kind of went for Kim on Kim's apology, but then kind of eased back to it at the same time, right? It was she shouldn't have did it, but I understand. Well, you stand on whatever you stand on. So I don't know. I don't know. It's something there. I just don't know what it is. He goes on my buddy Steve Harris. Shout out to the brother Steve Harris and the brother Steve Harris TV. Very good friend. And he goes on his show and he says he's not a Republican. Come on, Bishop. It's like the things that I'm told about the fact that he will say this, but he won't stand here, and he may not say this over here. Something's off over there. I don't know. Yeah, absolutely. He is definitely more of a commentator on pop culture in politics than church. I don't know how everything in pop culture or political culture per se. I don't know that I can receive a message on that every Sunday. Man, yeah, let's keep that same, I want to hear, I want to hear him say that. But he said, he said Mark Robinson, asked for forgiveness. But I didn't hear him. All I heard Mark Robinson say was he never said it, he never did it, and it's a lie. I just, it's something off with Bishop. There's something off. There's something off there. I don't know what it is, but there's something off. Yeah, everything he talks about, all of his social media, I don't know how. I don't know. I don't know what else he's going to say. I don't know what else Bishop Wooden has to say. Can I say it like that? I don't know what else he has to say. I think, and I don't know about you all because I know he has a lot of supporters, and a lot of his supporters, check out what we're talking about, and I stand on that. I don't know what else there is to say about trans bathrooms and gay marriage and homosexuality and sin. I don't know how much more. I mean, I don't know what else you can say about it to the world who is not listening. Do I think he's lost his gospel message because of the Bible? No, I just don't understand what Taylor Swift has to do with any gospel message ever, to be quite honest with you. They teach us in seminary when you go to seminary and you matriculate through there, they will tell you that there are 4 types of sermons. There are four types of sermons. And the most uncontextual sermon that can be preached is what is called a topical message. And a topical message is where you choose a topic and then you find scripture to support the topic that you want to really preach about. And that's what he does. Jamal Bryant is also a topical preacher to a great degree. And so I'm not, I like Jamal as a person, but I'm not as enthusiastic about his preaching as I used to be, because I'm just, the more you know, the more you expect. All of that, you have textual messages, you have topical messages. The most contextual is obviously exegetical messages, where you exegete the text and then apply hermeneutics to it. And the thing about topical messages is that you really cannot apply real hermeneutics, real interpretation of what it is, because there's no study of the text. It's just a bunch of scriptures that you throw together to support whatever it is you're arguing about on that day. And I just cannot find myself engaged in that, y'all. I just, expository preaching will keep you in context, absolutely, because it requires exegesis versus eisegesis. It requires you to actually explore and really study to show yourself approved. So I'm not really, I was also in the audience that Saturday night. I just had, a great loss of death, actually. There was someone very, very close to me, and I was in St. Louis, couldn't do anything about it. Went to the service, was at the service that night. That message was absolutely needed. If you were not at convocation in 2014, then you will never understand what Earl Carter was really talking about. But it was palpable in 2014, like literally when you walked through the halls, you saw guys with bird nest hats and feathers everywhere. And it was guys wearing purses and wearing high heels, walking down the corridors of the Edward Jones Center, that what used to be the Edward Jones Center in St. Louis. And literally the night before that, Friday night, I had, probably that Thursday or Friday night, I had called home to my wife and told her I will never come back to convocation, because this is disgusting. This is horrible. I don't even understand how this is happening at the convocation. It was just that bad. The night that Earl Carter preached, that very same night, two preacher friends of mine almost got in a fight with Andrew Caldwell. I was standing in the hallway, and they told one of them he had approached. He had come on to. And so they were pointing him out to me. He was wearing this fur coat and these high heels and had this purse on his shoulder. And they pointed him out. They said, "Jordan, man, you better watch out." So, watch out for what? And so they pointed him out. They said, "Now don't stay over there too long, because he'll come over here on you." And that really happened. And I smelled you. And so hey, bro, he come over here. He going back a different way. He going back changed, bro. And so it was palpable in 2014. I'm telling you what really happens. I'm talking about the night that he went to the altar and said, "I ain't gay no more." I'm talking about that night. Just prior to that, he almost got beat down in the hallway by some preachers. So that night was, that 2014. 2014 was the worst it had ever been, I think, for me in this church. And here's the thing about it, though, Paige. That wasn't the first time that Bishop Carter had preached. He had been preaching that message the theology of the limb, he had been preaching that message for years. He had preached that same message at West Angeles a couple of years prior to that. Yeah, it wasn't a new thing. Yeah, it was very much. And Carter, you're not saying something that people were not saying. 2014, it was very outspoken that people were saying that Bishop Blake was the cause of this that was happening within the church. Revival Fire was, if you went in 2014, it was almost as if the entire stage was overrun. I'm talking about, y'all ain't talking about people visiting. I'm talking about the ones that was wearing the collars and the ties, and that was the preachers, and they were up on the stage. We was like, how in the world did he get up there? Yeah, it was bad. And yes, Hollingsworth. The same night that Carter was preaching that, they were over with Magic Johnson having a banquet. Yeah, that's absolutely the truth. And it had, I think that was the same year Magic Johnson's son had came out as transgender and said, was talking about how his pastor had supported him. And it was 24. Man, Murray, come on, man. Come on, tell the people the truth. Tell them I'm not lying. 2014 was horrible. If you were not there, you have no idea what we're talking about. But I promise you, 2014, you had to be there to understand why we were all, Murray, Page, all of us were there cheering what he was and supporting what he was saying, because we were watching it. And it was horrible. Yeah, but see, that's the thing. So Phil, when he talks about Hollingsworth Candyman, he was actually, what most people don't realize is when he gets to this part about, these men sashaying around and da-da-da-da-da, he was talking to the bishops. Go back and watch the video. I mean, I was there, so I don't have to watch it. But he turned to the bishops. They were on the stage and they were on the floor. Porter was right behind him. And he was talking about what was happening in the bishop's chambers. Because Carter wasn't just talking about what he was talking about. He was talking about what we were talking about. Because if you know where the bishop's chambers were, and there's a hallway right there, when you come out and you go to the right, that was the bishop's hall where the bishop's chambers were. And we were all like tripping, like how many of these little dudes, these little bow ties was all up in the bishop's chambers. Yeah, Clean too. Yeah, Clean was behind them too. Because they were all, I'm telling you, there was a problem in 2014. And as a matter of fact, there was a beef that had happened in 2014 where Bishop Blake challenged the bishops, the men, and told them, "Bring me the man, since y'all want." Because this was wide known, y'all. This was, Carter wasn't talking out of turn. This was wide known that the men they were having a problem with Bishop Blake, and they were having a problem with the way the church, these convocations had become just, outlandish. I'm talking about outlandish, just fashion shows. They wasn't even having altar calls. It was bad. It was bad. And so Carter was on something different. That, to me, when you talk about somebody standing on business and somebody standing on righteousness and somebody saying it with their chest what needed to be said, that's the difference between Earl Carter and who used to be one of his best friends, Patrick Wooding. Because when Patrick Wooden had a chance, I don't care what Bishop Sheard is talking about. Patrick Wooden, he didn't take a position because they fired me. Well, you was fired. I don't know why he didn't take the position. And that's not a dig at him. That's just a truth. He said it. I didn't say it. But to me, when you had an opportunity to stand for your guy, this is your friend. Earl Carter didn't say anything wrong in 2014. Nothing. He said something that was probably vulgar to a certain degree. I mean, but not really. You had to be there. But he said it to the church who he was talking to. He said it to the bishops who were doing it. He said it to the pastors who, as a matter of fact, he also went after the choir, if y'all remember. Said, y'all got them all up in the choir stand with these bow ties and too tight pants on. Oh, he went for it. He didn't bring up Kirk Franklin. He didn't bring up Beyonce. He didn't bring up Taylor Swift. He didn't talk about nobody out the church. He talked about what's happening right in the church. When Earl Carter talked about the hotels and why this money was going to the board and going as kickbacks instead of buying down the room rates in Memphis so that the Saints could have cheaper rooms, which is what the negotiation was supposed to be about, they had a problem with Earl Carter. But Earl Carter was standing on real church business. No, other people don't have that. That's what I'm talking about, Hollywood. That's why I do what I do. People don't realize how hard it is to do these things. Whether your name is Earl Carter or your name is David Jordan, it's tough to do because a lot of times you're standing by yourself with people in the background going, "We support you," but they never say it out loud. They never say it out loud. And so, hold on, y'all don't get my chart. And so it's really difficult because when you have to stand alone, the cost of standing alone can be astronomical. Because when you take a stand, believe me, y'all, you cannot stand and benefit from the game all at the same time. And so these people, the hurt that people like Carter and others have experienced is because these are people you thought really meant what they said. And let me say, when I say the bow ties and tight pants, that was just the euphemism that he used in order, and I'm using that instead of the vernacular that will get your show blocked on YouTube and Facebook. Okay, so yeah, but we know what we're talking about. Some things we just gotta use wisdom. But he did use those terms too. But what I'm saying to you is, when we talk about it, and I didn't really want to get stuck off on this, but that's my problem, because I can hear you talk about politics. I can hear you talk about wokeism without really knowing what it is, because you don't. You don't know the history of it. You don't know that it started with the Republican Party. You don't know what it means. You don't know why people do it. You don't know when it was that it was usurped from blacks in the 30s who were talking about staying woke as to what was happening to us politically and judicially and other things. It's hard for me to say, Anyway, I'm gonna try not to get, because I don't like to get too personal with people I don't personally know. Yeah, I'd love to see Dr. Carter read. First of all, let me say this. Let me say this, though, Paige. Dr. Carter was never excommunicated from the church. That did not happen. What has happened to Dr. Earl Carter is that he's been blackballed. He's been blackballed, and his bishop is refusing to accept his credential report. He didn't lose his credentials. That's a different thing. So when Bishop Mason was disfellowshipped in 1907, he was disfellowshipped. He was put out by the General Assembly. Dr. Carter has never had that. He's never been to trial for anything. He hasn't even been before his jurisdictional pastors and elders council for any sanctions. He's never been sanctioned. What they did was they put out a letter denouncing what he was saying about Bishop Blake, and then they blackballed him. Was the requested apology due to the Lilly Foundation giving money to the church? No, you're talking about the requested apology of Dr. Carter? No, that had everything to do with what happened when Bishop Blake got home to LA. That didn't have anything to do with the Lilly Foundation money or anything to that effect. However, that is a very important point that you bring up, which is why I keep saying that Bishop Wooden cannot be elected to the general board, because again, a lot of foundations and corporations that give money to this church will not give money to this church because they cannot be associated with extremism. It just can't happen. Yeah, so you're right. The next year, what they did was Bishop Blake had a restraining order taken out on Dr. Carter. That's why Dr. Carter could not get into the America Center. There was a restraining order taken out against him, a trespass. They did two different things. They trespassed him, and then they took out a restraining order because of the then pending lawsuit. And so I didn't think that was right either. I don't even know how they were able to legally get that done, because to get a restraining order, you have to say you have some sort of fear that this person is dangerous, which of course, unless you went to court and told that lie, I don't know how you got a restraining order against him. And then to trespass him, I don't know how they got the America Center to trespass him, because it would not have been COLBY. COLBY is just renting space. So I don't know how they managed to do that, but that's actually what happened. But he has never been taken. He's never even had charges brought against him in his own jurisdiction, which is where it would happen. In order to give, you go to $Heat Show. That's all you have to do is go to $Heat Show, and you can give right there by Cash App, or you can there's another way. Where's Gail when you need her? Or you can Zelle. That's what it is. You can Zelle to heatshowcomments@gmail.com. So you can either Cash App to $Heat Show, or you can Zelle to heatshowcomments@gmail.com. Thank you for your support. So So no, Dr. Carter he's never even been, accused of anything in a formal setting within this church. But yes, Bishop Blake did win the defamation lawsuit, $75,000. And I think it was won by default. I know they didn't have a trial. Yes, Bishop Jimmy Williams was his bishop and refused to accept his credential reports, will not actually allow him to make his credential reports. So therefore, when you don't have your credential reports, he can, Bishop Carter, he's often at convocation. He could even go to General Assembly. He cannot participate because only a currently paid credential report gets you into the General Assembly as a voting delegate if your jurisdiction votes you in as a delegate. So those are the things that they're doing to him. And Bishop Williams is now sat down and maybe going to prison. I remember, when the convocation, if you didn't get to Cook Convention Center early enough, you would either be at Mason Temple or you might be at Temple of Deliverance. That's before they even had Battle for Blessings. Or you might be at Pentecostal. We were all over the city, and it was, 50, 60,000 or more people in Memphis. I mean, the Saints just took over everything. And that was the power and the authority that the church had, which brings me to this thing that I want to talk about with Memphis, because of course y'all know we talked about Bishop Porter and his plea. First of all, we got to discuss a couple things. Number one, constitutionally, they got to meet the threshold to move the convocation out of Memphis. I think the delegates this time need to be aware and not just rubber stamp foolishness. I think it's worth it to even walk away from money to make sure that the leadership follows the Constitution, because we've gotten disjointed, we've gotten out of order, where instead of being General Assembly led, we are now board led, which is completely opposite of what the Constitution requires. To move out of Memphis, there needs to be an amendment, not a resolution, but there has to be an amendment that then would allow the board to negotiate for the convocation to move out of Memphis or to move to other places, and how that would be done and under what circumstances. And we're currently being led like we're board led, like the Baptist Church would not. We are General Assembly led. And so the reality of it is, right now in the Green and White Book, it is very clear that the convocation takes place in Memphis. It also says that the presiding bishop should spend significant time in Memphis, and that the church should provide him adequate housing if that is a hindrance, so that there should be, our church is supposed to have a headquarter mansion, estate, if you will, for the presiding bishop in Memphis, because that's where the presiding bishop is supposed to be. It's actually written in the book. We're supposed to have our convocation and our votes in Memphis. It's in the book. And if you want to change that, then all I'm saying is do it constitutionally. That's the first thing. Secondly, I saw Bishop Porter in those meeting with city officials and having lunches and being wined and dined and all of that. That's great. Absolutely. That, as a matter of fact, Wilcox, that has always been the battle. We've had two battles in this church, two significant battles in this church. 1907, and 1962. Both of those battles lasted, well, 1961 really is when it started. Both of those battles lasted 7 years. Both of those battles were about one thing. Would the church be board and man led, or would the church be constitutionally led according to the General Assembly? That has always been the fight. Every time we get to this place is because we have forgotten that our leaders are representative leadership, but that the General Assembly, jurisdictional assemblies, this is the people's church. And so we're not dictated upon, but that we participate actively. We choose our representation, and our representation goes and represents us. And that the board answers to the people. The people do not answer to the board. In about every 50 or so years, 50, 55 years, we forget that. And so we end up here. And there's always different voices, and there's always only a few of them. And eventually, there's a court process that happens that causes us to come back to being General Assembly, constitutionally led. When you look in our book, our Black book, even now, when they talk about the rewrite of 1968, it talks about as they came together and realized and accepted that the church would be constitutionally led. That is our governing document. That is what really guides us. And so as a result, the General Assembly is the body that makes the decisions. Those are the people who represent the millions of people who are at home. Every jurisdiction assembly is supposed to meet and send their representatives to voice how they feel about whatever the issues are. That's the General Assembly. And then when the General Assembly is not in session, the Constitution says we elect a board to represent the General Assembly. That's the General Board. They represent the General Assembly. And when the General Board is not in session, then we select a presiding bishop to preside over that board who can operate in the absence of the board. That's the presiding bishop. And he answers to the board, and the board answers to the General Assembly. It's just the way we operate. And right now, we seem to be out of whack in terms of how we're operating. And so I think if we really want to, first of all, to continue to be in Memphis is in the church. And there are ways to do that. We could do that in a matter of probably 90 to 120 days. But here's the thing. So you want to go to St. Louis, right? Because St. Louis is offering more money than Memphis. There's only one problem. To me, it doesn't matter whether or not you're at the convention center in Memphis or you're at a convention center in St. Louis. The America Center is 1.7 million square feet, but it's about 260,000 square feet of convention space. Um, there are two properties right now in the Memphis area. One sits on 36 acres, state-of-the-art building that could easily be developed, that has 786,000 square feet on 36 acres. We could probably get it for less than $10 million. I'm definitely going next Sunday. We're going to do the Robert's Rules of Order. These are probably the top 20 or so motions and protocols that you need to know to prepare for General Assembly. So, in my opinion, why we are not focused there, which could generate millions of dollars to the church on an annual basis, kind of in the model of the Mormon church there in Salt Lake. Because if you have enough acreage, and there is acreage on both of these places, in addition to the tens of acres that come with these properties. One is, I believe, 25, 28 acres. The other is 36 acres. Comes with property, and there's acres around it. That can easily, if you know anything about real estate, and you have smart people around you. What I don't understand is why. Okay, how is that? Is that better? Oh, tell me if that's better. Because I don't hear the echo anymore. Y'all tell me, is that better? Much better? Okay, all right. Okay, thank you all. Because that was driving me crazy. I thought it was just me. Okay. Man, that was driving me crazy. I could hear something just like faint in the back. That was about to drive me crazy. Okay, but yeah, in my opinion, I think the General Assembly, I'm gonna say it again, I think the General Assembly should say no to going to St. Louis. I think that the General Assembly should assign the board, whoever the new board is, to identify the land, and identify opportunities in the greater Memphis area for us to actually build and develop our own headquarters, that will also look to the future of hotels, residential housing, as well as other developments surrounding our headquarters. I think we have to be much more proactive, and I think the General Assembly should be proactive in saying, no, here's what we want you to do, because the Constitution says that the board is to do what the General Assembly assigns to it to do. And so for too many years, we've had the board coming telling us what they are doing versus, I think, the General Assembly assigning them something to do. I think they got too much time on their hands. And I think that should be one of the main focuses. I think in addition to that, I think that instead of us wasting time with ITC and all of this other stuff, I think that the church should be focusing on identifying a small college or university that is already accredited, that can be acquired, and then moving that university headquartered to Lexington and actually developing a real COLBY University college experience in Lexington, Mississippi. I think the reason you want to acquire a university who's already accredited is because you don't have to go through the accreditation process, and you can immediately get going as a visa, grant financing, student financing type of university and campus right off the bat. I think within probably a couple of years, we could certainly have our own, just like Oral Roberts, have our own basketball team, have our own football team, and really be, really be something that we can be proud of. Question, great question. Bill for what? How would it get paid for? And how to keep it operational without sacrificing values of the church? Just keep it open. That's a great question. Number one, right now we spend $40 million a year in Memphis in a week. So when we talk about operational costs, again, if you look at the formula of the Mormon Church, you look at the formula of the Methodist Church, you look at the formula of the Southern Baptist, anywhere where they have headquarters and they have these this type of plan, most of those are now worth billions. Why? Because of long-term land leases, 100-year land leases. That's how you build hotels around your development. John Hagee in San Antonio, who I personally know, that's how he developed most of the stuff that he has at Cornerstone. If you were in San Antonio probably 15 years ago, nothing that you see around Cornerstone was there. It's now one of the most high-end areas of San Antonio that you can be in. That Stone Oak area is extremely high-end. Restaurants, hotels, residential apartments, high-rise, mid-rises. That is how, as a matter of fact, that is how Dr. Hollingsworth, that's how your boy Donald Trump, that's how he became a billionaire. Donald Trump has not built many buildings. Donald Trump has done many land leases, 100-year land leases, 150-year land leases. And then those are worth tens of millions of dollars on an annual basis, and that's how you create value. And then when that is done, the infrastructure is still there and it's still maintained and owned by the original owner of the land. So there are ways to do that. For what? So that we can stop spending $40 million a year to host our own convocation with our own people. Makes no sense. That's why every major denomination does that, including the Roman Catholic Church. They have a place. The Muslims have Mecca. My God, everybody has somewhere that they go. And so their people bring that in. So that becomes, again, revenue because you're not spending it. To spend $40 million a year versus to generate $40 million a year, it's just ridiculous when you're over 100 years old. Yeah, that's true. Many people don't. Mason Temple, again, why the presiding bishop in the national church does not have Mason Temple open every Sunday and having service in Mason Temple is ridiculous. It is a tourist location. I mean, I don't know why Bishop Porter thinks it's a great thing to keep showing tourists going through makes it simple, but that is not what I think we should be doing. 40 million for what? 40 million between the cost of the convention center, hotels, food vendors, restaurants, shopping. That's approximately what we spend on an annual basis in one 10-day period in Memphis. And so when you look at other denominations, you don't find them doing that because, for instance, if you go to Salt Lake, you're going to go to the mall that's owned by the Mormon Church. So Mormon Church, all of that is going to one place. Am I making any sense? Like at some point, you have to look. We've got to get out of this, and it's really a lot of Black denominations where we don't actually see the value of ownership. We cannot preach lending and not borrowing when we don't own anything and we don't have anything to lend. Think about this. I think the scandal with the AME Church a couple of years ago was $90 million that was stolen. 90 million that was we got a PPP loan and told the government that we max $25 million a year. Max. The AME Church had 90 million stolen and then disappeared. I mean, come on. And then, these others, Seventh-day Adventists is the largest, we talked about it last week, the largest owner of hospitals in the world is the Seventh-day Adventist Church. The word billions. So what I'm saying is we got to change this mentality as delegates. I'm not talking about leadership. It's got to start with the delegates, and the delegates got to be saying, hey, listen, we came here on some assignments. We want y'all to finish those assignments because it's begging that y'all doing every week, every year, talking about let's raise the budget. Only in the Church of God in Christ do we need to raise the budget. Oh yeah, I know what you're talking about too. Yeah, I know you're talking about. But here's the thing. That was a bad investment in the first place for a number of reasons. Because again, when you're talking about just a local church versus a national denomination, and you're talking about a world-class situation, there are lots of people that want to go to Memphis to have events. One of the now here's something I'm going to give Sheard credit for. He is forming relationships and friendships outside of our denomination. So I can see an instance in which perhaps Pilgrim or perhaps Bishop Lambert Gates or perhaps PAW, someone else would want to come in and have their convocation in. See, when you own stuff, you can do a number of things with it. And when you own a convention center, there are more conventions than just church conventions. There are corporate conventions that happen all across the country all the time. $84 billion in tourism money goes to Memphis every year. Did y'all know that? $84 billion a year goes into Memphis in tourist dollars. There are a lot of conventions that go there. There's a reason you want to have that type of situation. Live recordings. There are always artists, gospel artists, even Christian artists, CCM artists, who are always, that are in Tennessee, by the way. They're right up the road in Nashville. with 7-figure budgets to do live recordings. The level of what you can do once you build out a state-of-the-art headquarters. It doesn't just, we're not just talking about a major auditorium that can seat, what, 18,000 at the FedEx Forum, 22,000, I think, in Salt Lake City, 68,000 when you're talking about a football stadium. We're never doing that. We need something that may seat maybe 20 to 30,000 people in one space, right? That's a really good size. And really, then we become competition for the FedEx arena, because a lot of those other venues that go there would then probably come to us as well. Temple of Deliverance, yeah, was a live recording venue. But when you're talking about it anywhere from a 300,000 to maybe an 800,000 square foot facility, you can have a state-of-the-art recording facility where the Church of God in Christ record company is headquartered. You can have your publishing house in one place. You can have bookstores, and you can have all kinds of things that can take place in that, including corporate offices, corporate headquarter offices for the staff of the church. It's a number of things that you can have going on there that frees up what's happening, what you try to do on a small campus called Mason Temple. And so y'all give a shout out to Gail. She's in the comments, y'all. She ain't on, she's in the comments. Y'all give a shout out. We're praying for you, girl. We love you and appreciate everything that it is that you do for us. Thank you. So I think what I'm saying is, I would much rather Bishop Porter be focusing, and that team be focusing on trying to get Memphis to consider things like tax abatements and tax credits, and trying to figure out how we can possibly put together the right size bond issue. We have enough people to make it happen without even really thinking that hard about it. Yeah, absolutely. Again, most major denominations own their publishing royalty. Their artists are on their labels. I think I told y'all last week, the Seventh-day Adventist has 7 different record labels. Most of what you hear during the Dove Awards, that's some Seventh-day Adventist artists. Church of God in Christ should have been at the top of gospel of the gospel record industry. Which brings me to, we're talking about Bishop Sheard and re-election. I think Bishop Sheard has to undo some mistakes he's made. I think he's got to undo some. One of the mistakes was bringing in, and again, let me say it before y'all jump in the comments, I have no problem with Dr. Myron Williams. I like him. But to overlook the guys that were in this church, to overlook Dr. Derek Starks, who had just had one of the biggest albums anywhere. Y'all remember Hang On, Great Emmanuel, that he won the BMI award for? Patrick Riddick had a banging album that was just coming out. He was out touring with Ricky Dillard. I just don't, I just don't, that was a mistake. It was an unnecessary mistake. And let me say this, I know for a fact, I don't believe it was a mistake that Bishop Sheard made, other than the fact that Bishop Sheard is the presiding bishop and he allowed it to happen. Bishop Sheard, you shouldn't have allowed that to happen. That's an elephant in the room. Let's just get all the elephants out. The elephant in the room, Dr. Myron Williams was a mistake to a point. Period. Not because he's a bad guy, not because he doesn't know how to produce music, not because he can't play or sing. Absolutely, absolutely, absolutely. That starts right now, doing choir work, doing the work of a president, building choirs across culture churches and jurisdictions all over the country. As a matter of fact, don't forget he was also in Israel. He was also overseas. Yeah, honestly, I thought Patrick, was up next. I did. But I think when it comes to those two, that's a tough, but they were the ones working the department. And if you wanted to, and I'm gonna say that this doesn't negate any of the strong women who we have. Come on, let's just be honest. T. Lynn Smith, come on, we got some of the baddest women anywhere in our music department, the National Music Department. That's just period. But being that Bishop Sheard wanted male leadership there, to overlook either one of those guys, I didn't put Patrick at number one at the time because Patrick also had a television show. Good evening, Mobile. Good to see you. Patrick was also doing a television show, a whole lot of other things. I didn't think that his schedule. I was concerned about his schedule. To be quite honest with you, I was concerned about his schedule, not about his capabilities, but his schedule. As much as it is with Dr. Williams. What I thought is that we need a president like a president we've always had, who was 100% focused on being the president of the International Music Department of Church. And from all that I had heard, I knew Dr. Starks was that person. Plus, he was working with the presiding bishop at the time, which was completely odd to me because every presiding bishop brings their person in with them. That's just how that normally goes. Now, to his credit, and to Patrick Williams' credit, they have both stayed faithful, and I mean, have been at everything. They're always there, and so that even, that's even more respectful to me because these are just cogent guys doing what your musicians to come up trying to get to. Just like bishops, they come in as elders, and their focus is by the time I sit down, I won't have sat down from the general board. Well, guess what? Musicians are the same way. We come in, but man, we want, by the time we get to the end, we'd like to be able to say we were the president of the International Music Department. I was so. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate that so much. Okay, you remember the Church of God? Yeah. We all started off there. Man, Dr. Brian, I'm trying, man. That's what it's all. That's what this platform is all about. I tell you all the time, it is never personal for me. I don't have a personal, unless it is, and that's very rare. But I think we have to have these honest discussions, and I don't know that anybody has told Bishop Sheard, listen, here are the elephants in the room. Number one, Dr. Myron, that was a bad move. And so you've seen it in the choir. You've seen it by the lack of support within the choir, by the lack of numbers in the choir. And then the deal you made with him So that was just bad all the way around. And I think if you're going to be reelected, that's something that you should fix. Or else the church will continue to go down. It won't matter where you have it at because you won't get 10,000 people to show up to it. Evangelism, another elephant in the room. Bishop Sheard, Gary Sprewell was a mistake. Period. That just was that's what that was. Nothing personal. It just was a mistake. And I think he's had his opportunity. And I think new leadership would bring new life into the evangelism department. For the past 4 years, we've had people who are all out building their brands. Imagine this. These are leaders all out building their brand. None of them are building the church. They are all building their brand. When I see Dr. Myron, whatever he posts online, whatever he advertises, it is always flow. And then IMD. Gary Sprewell is Gary Sprewell. And then these were mistakes, period. And I don't know, Bishop, nobody didn't tell you. I told you, that's fine. You heard it tonight. Somebody sent them the message. Somebody sent them the video. Let them know. These were mistakes. I think Bishop Sheard's instincts are better than his advisors. I think his instincts, his natural instincts, is better. Because who he instinctively was going to put over evangelism versus who he put over evangelism. Bishop, listen to your instincts and get better advice. Whatever you do, if you are reelected, you have got to get some honest people around you. Got to get honest people in your corner. I'm talking about that you will trust, that will tell you the truth. You got to do that. You have to be like Marcus Aurelius. You have got to get that guy that reminds you you're just a man. I'm talking about, even if it's not official title or whatever it is that you want to do with that, you got to get somebody that when you get done with all these advisors to the jury board and advisors to this and advisor, you need somebody. You got to have somebody, or a few somebody that will say, Bishop, where's your heart at? Where's your mind? Where's your instinct telling you? And they can help you to reason as to why that is good or bad. Because many of these were just unforced errors. They were unforced. I don't think by nature that Bishop Sheard wants the church to be in court all over the country. I don't think by nature that that's what he wants. Bishop, you got to get rid of your general counsel who's keeping you in court unnecessarily. Let me tell you something. Most elders, most pastors, most bishops, most leaders respect leadership. In a simple call, could probably quash a lot of issues. Most of the stuff that's dealt with is because there's no touch from leadership, and leadership won't follow the Constitution. Somebody's got to just tell you, "Oh, cut that out." If you're going to be reelected, I would, because I'm be honest with you, y'all, I don't know what the Church of God in Christ is going to look like 4 years from now if many of the same people are reelected and nothing changes. I think you have to put Don Shelby on the board. I think you have to do that. I think you have to put Linwood Dillon on the board. I think you have to do that. I think you have to put Frank Anthony White on the board. Why? I'm not saying any of these men because they're popular. I'm saying them because all three of them I know will stand on what's right and will put the Constitution ahead of the title, I believe. I believe that at least those three for sure are men of integrity. I think you got to do that. I think you have to do that. I think Bishop Little, from what I'm hearing, from what I'm finding out, is certainly a qualified and capable choice. I really believe that. I don't know enough about Bishop Harris. Don't know enough about him. And I don't want to punish Bishop Wright just because he's from Memphis. I don't think that's fair to him either. I think he's an honorable man as well. Somebody brought up Bishop Thomas earlier. Bishop Walls, I'm not in support of. I'm not, because General Assembly last year, Bishop Walls, who was, of course, we know trustee, was a part of the report that Bishop Maynard was making about the missing, I think, $850,000. And Bishop Walls did not have any answers to it. Bishop Walls said he would give a report of it. I think within 120 days, that report, as far as I know, still has not been made. And so that's enough of a reason for me to not support Bishop Walls. I don't know him to be good or a bad man or anything like that. That's just my experience. And so accountability to me to move from trustee to general board is a larger responsibility. And when we got that kind of money missing and no answers, then it makes me question whether or not a promotion is in place for you. Gail says we need a general board that cares about the people and care about the pastors, the church leaders, small, medium, large membership churches. I agree. I think there are a couple of men running that kind of have that mentality. Uh, I believe Bishop Shelby does. I believe Bishop Thomas does. These are guys who kind of, that I know, have worked with new pastors, small churches, develop different things. Bishop Shelby, much more. So, um, but there's some men who are running that have that. I don't know every person that's running personally or anything personal about it. Yeah, I think that I agree. I agree. You know, I just want them to do their job. Let's first focus on doing the job, which is, again, it goes back to taking care of the properties and the assets of the church. If they could focus on that first, that would be huge. Um, and then, collaborating with the general board and the general assembly about acquiring new things and doing other things. I think, I'm hoping that at some point we get to the point of having people that want to see this church fulfill its full potential. And the full potential of the church has not even been, we haven't even touched it in 100+ years, because we've spent the past roughly 52 years or so with individuals building individual kingdoms. And so the church, we have not, we've not gotten anywhere near there. Our bishops are supposed to be like bishops in other major reformations, where you have jurisdictions, you have dioceses in most major denominations that are worth tens of millions of dollars, if not hundreds of millions. They're worth 8-9 figures. And we got jurisdictions that can't get 100 people to come to a convocation. Again, we keep putting people in place. We got people in place all over the place that know nothing about building jurisdictions, nothing about building dioceses, nothing about putting. Our Constitution allows every jurisdiction to incorporate itself and to have its own bylaws and its own rules and its own constitution, its own regulations, and to develop itself, and yet still none of them do. Or very few of them do. We've got it. We are kind of missing it on just a nationwide scale at this point, because the brand is so diluted. And so we have some pastors and some bishops who are happy to be in $5 and $10 million buildings that no one is sitting in. No ministry is taking place, but they've got all of the Maybachs and Bentleys that you can possibly want. And they got a daycare in their church, while we go over to our Caucasian brethren and walk over there, and they got a $50 million high school, $20 million middle school, and a $10 million elementary, and state-of-the-art facilities. And Our focus is something different. And I think we've got to recalibrate our focus. I'm hoping I'm saying if we're going to re-elect Bishop Sheard directly, I'm saying this to you, that for you, for the delegates, for the general board, the focus has to be taking the church into the next century, not operating like we're in the last century. Hear me one more time. It has to become our focus to take the church into the next century and not keep focusing and behaving like we're in the last century. That's funny to me. We've got to focus. We've got to get for. I don't, you know, I am so. You're right, Hollywood. There's only some churches. I don't want to hear another person tell me who's, you know, we need preachers who's preaching God. All of us, if you were coaching preaching, 9 times out of 10 you're preaching the gospel. Okay, can we stop pretending like, you know, like it's only 5 people preaching the gospel, only 5 people preaching by sin? And come on now. Good to see you. How you doing, Dr. Henry? Good to see you, sir. Listen. Okay, we know the gospel message is, but let me say it one more time for the people in the back who never heard it said before. You did not understand this because you're busy listening to topical preachers and not expository preachers, and so you never got the text or the context of anything. Let me help you one more time. Nothing in the Bible is for sinners except for salvation. Nothing in the Bible is to sinners except for salvation. When he says, if my people, he's not talking to sinners. He's not talking to the world. He's talking to the church. If my people, which are called by my name, everybody call themselves a Christian, everybody call themselves a son or daughter of God, will turn from their wicked ways. He called us wicked. He was not talking to the world. When I see the blood, when I see blood, whose children was he killing? How many times did he tell the prophet to go back and tell them, if they will become my people, I will become their God? Talk about Moses all you want. Moses did not make it into the promised land. He made it to heaven, but he didn't make it to the promised land. And nobody will it. And all the children of Israel that he brought out, he brought them all out of Exodus. They crossed over the Red Sea, walked right through it, and not one of them made it into the promised land. They children did. God deals with the church. And so to me, all this wasting time preaching to the world when we can't get the church saved. Thank you, sir. Thank you. God talks to the church. we get it confused because we confuse that for God so loved the world. That Bible is to us. It's to the believer. That's why oftentimes when I'm talking to people, I always start with the first question is, well, do you believe the Bible? If you don't believe the Bible, then nothing else that we're talking about is going to make sense. I don't have time to focus on Beyonce and Taylor Swift and all the other ones because I need to be focused on us in the church. The people, us in the church can't follow rules. Us in the church are fighting over things we shouldn't even be fighting over. It bothers me to see churches and these, you got these church mothers and these deacons or whatever, and you've been coaching your whole life. You've been a deacon in the Church of God Christ 50 years, and your pastor dies, and now you want to sue the bishop talking about we ain't even coaching. Stop that. Cut that out. We fighting on something in this church that doesn't even, we so far behind, it doesn't even make sense. And so I'm hoping that we can begin to, as delegates, strengthen one another, help one another, so that when we show up to these April calls and these convocation general assemblies, that we know that we've got some strength. So join me Sunday. Y'all join me Sunday. Sunday is going to be General Assembly Sunday. And we're going to literally go through the things that deal with Robert's Rules of Order, the motions. How do you overcome and override a chair? How do you get a motion on the floor? How do you change a subject? How do you table thing? How do we do what we do? So we're going to talk about that on Sunday. Y'all come. I haven't got all 25 yet. Got all 25. I'm still short 25. I'm 11 people short of our 25 partners. That's 25 people who will commit to be partners with this show at $25 per month. And so we're 11 short. I'm 11 short of that 25 partners that allows us to do the things that we need to do. Why? Because I need to get it, we have to have a computer that can show the different screens, that can show you how the receipts and the numbers and how we get to where we get to. The information that I share with you all, I generally share overall. But we've got to have the right things in place to do those things that are needful and necessary. And so we still need another 11 25 partners. That's 25 people who will partner with the Heat Show and commit to supporting on a monthly basis with $25. Thank you for those who gave. That's right. That's right. You're one of the 25. I got all the. Everybody didn't say I'm one of 25, Dr. Wilcox. Everybody didn't say it. So we do have a number that did say that they are one of the 25, and I want to thank you, Dr. Wilcox, for becoming a partner with us, because we do. We need to share the information, and we need to be able to share it effectively. And so all of that, believe it or not, I know y'all don't believe it, but it does have a cost that comes along with it. Even within the software that you're watching me on now, there's a cost. We have Gail is in the comments, she can tell you, we have all kinds of things that are sitting in there y'all can't see because there's a cost. They went up on their cost, so everything goes up. So at any rate, we need your help. We still need another 11. And then, of course, even if you don't want to be a part of that, anything that you choose to sow or anything you choose to give, Y'all know I don't play around with words like soul and seed and prophecy. I don't have a prophecy for you tonight. I just need to know that you'll support. As you see me now posting every Sunday to sow, you grow. I believe when you come to this platform, I believe we grow together. We share information together. We share what we know together. We grow as a community within this church to have this conversation. Would y'all also do me one more favor? Make sure y'all reach out to some of these wonderful people that we have in this church and just let them know how loved they are. Reach out to Dr. Riddick and Dr. Starks and so many T. Lynch, so many people who are just wonderful in this church. We have a lot of people, administrative assistant, Dennis Martin, who was the president of the evangelism department. One of the only reason, here's what's crazy, right? So I reached out to him, I talked with him, and I asked him, I said, what happened? What happened? I mean, because he's a phenomenal. You don't know who Dennis Martin is, you should know who Dennis Martin is. He was a wonderful president of evangelism, was replaced by the late Bishop Willie James Campbell. And he was doing a phenomenal job. I was growing the evangelism department because I know a lot of young guys want to be part of it because he was over it. And what happened was when Bishop Blake became presiding bishop, and I know this to be a fact, Bishop Blake got rid of everybody that was a part of Bishop G.E. Patterson's administration. It was nothing personal. It was nothing that he had done. There was nothing negative about him. A lot that happened to a lot of people. As a matter of fact, when Bishop Blake came in, Bishop Blake, once he got in, he closed down the offices in Memphis and got rid of the entire staff. I think of maybe 3 to 5 people were still there in Memphis. And so when you ask why nothing is happening in Memphis, I saw somebody ask that earlier tonight. That has been since Bishop Blake. Bishop Blake shut down everything in Memphis and moved it to Los Angeles and put all of his people and his team in place. And so that's what happened even in the evangelist department. And never did he bring anyone back from that. He held it all the way through his entire leadership. We got to stop these sorts of things. We got to stop these sorts of things. That's what the General Assembly is about. That's why everything is approved, even appointments. We've got to do better, because I wanted to know, and so we talked, and I asked him. I said, "Well, Administrator, do I have your permission, Mr. President? Do I have your permission to say it just like that? That this was political?" He says, "Absolutely, I'll stand on it." And so these are the politics within our church that hurt the church. They don't just hurt people; they hurt the church. Now, of course, when God has whatever He has for you. By the way, go follow him. He's on social media. You can find him on all platforms of social media. I think he's got 28,000 followers or something like that on YouTube. You want to follow him. Certainly, his wife and the Anointed Pace Sisters and their ministry is just phenomenal. See, he's got a lot of people pushing him. He doesn't need me to do it. But again, when I say I'm gonna reach out, I reach out and we touch people. Because our church is bigger than what has been. There are a lot of things that happened that were political between 2008 and 2019. And we're going to start talking about some of those things before the year is over. It's, and it's, let me say something. Bishop Blake has known me since I was 2 years old, I believe. He and my father were the closest of friends for over 40 years. I have the greatest respect, utmost respect, but I stand where I stand. And who he was before he became presiding bishop and some of the things that he did after he became presiding bishop were completely in contradiction to each other, in terms of power and authority. Some of these things have affected the church. So I think we have to do better. And would y'all do me a favor? Just pray for me. Because I will tell you the truth, it is, Gail, sometimes hard to stand. You're standing by yourself sometimes. So would y'all pray for me? Again, if you want to be a part of the 25-25, there's only 11 spots left. These partners are probably ultimately going to become my think tank. We're going to have opportunities to have conference calls and look at some other things, even possibly drafting some of the resolutions and legislations that will be submitted to the General Assembly eventually over time, the next couple of years. And so if you want to be a part of that team, be a part of the 25-25, we've got 11 spots open. If you're one of those 11, just sow that 25 tonight. Go to Cash App $Heat Show or Zelle at Heat Show comments at gmail.com and sow that 25. Make sure that you put in the comments section one of 25. I'm only counting those who say one of 25 in the 25. Okay. And so we've only got 11 spots left. Thank you for those who said, I just want to sow $25, just be a blessing to the show, just to support the show. Thank you for those who did that. Thank you for those who do that tonight. Thank you for those who sold the 5 and the 10s. Thank you for that as well. Everything helps us to do what we do, but this is specifically about the Heat Show platform. We've got some other platforms that will be opening up that we're going to be doing in the coming months that I'm super excited about, really excited about. We're going to start a new show called Marriage Mondays, Love and Marriage Mondays, and I'm excited about that. It's all about marriage and relationships and how to successfully navigate, get rid of some of the myths and deal with some of the kryptonite that can kill your relationship. So we're going to start that right after convocation. So I think the second or third Monday in November, we're going to start Love and Marriage Mondays. So y'all make sure y'all check that out. Last but not least, I want to thank our sponsor, Total Health and Life Insurance Group. I want to thank them for sponsoring. They are one of the partners, and y'all see me wearing to my knees some swag. I got my shirt on. It's a little cool outside, so I was able to get my shirt. Got me a little shirt. And Tiger Woods, he wears a nightcap when he plays golf. So I'm wearing a Total Health shirt while I'm doing the Heat Show. I want to thank our sponsor, Total Health. They've got a new Facebook page is connected to the Heat Show page. It's connected to my personal page. I know I've connected it there, but for the first 100 people that just go by and like the page, starting tomorrow, the first 100, I think they're going to launch tomorrow. The first 100 people that go by and like the page is getting a 4 days, 3 nights in Las Vegas for, I think, $120 or something like that. $125. That's what it is. $125. Crazy. So just all you gotta do is go by and like the page. That's simple enough. So Make sure you go by and like the page, and you have to like the page and leave a comment. That comment can be a thumbs up, an emoji, or whatever it is that you want to leave. Just a way for them to contact you, for the company to contact you. They're not going to contact you to sell you anything, even though they do health and life insurance. They're not going to call you to do any of that, but they're just going to contact you to get you your trip to Las Vegas just for doing that. They want you to like and share and comment. That's all you got to do. Like, share, comment, and you can go to Vegas for $125 and spend 4 days and 3 wonderful nights in a hotel of your choice. Did I hear Dr. Jerry Black and Reverend Jasper Williams Jr. preach during my time? Absolutely, absolutely. I used to get an opportunity to go and have lunch with Dr. Jasper Williams, who is an amazingly funny person. I have been in the presence of Dr. Black a couple of times. He's an extremely smart guy, but I love his preaching. You have not heard preaching if you have not heard. They're two different guys, though, right? So Black is kind of like methodical in his preaching style. Williams is like a historian telling a story. I became real good friends with Joseph, of course, you know, his son, and that was another whole experience altogether by itself. But yeah, those two are. I'm gonna tell you who else I like in Atlanta. Wally Jackson. Wally Jackson is he's fun. He's fun. No, I haven't heard. I haven't heard. Yeah, Wally is fun. Jasper Williams he's a comedian. I don't care what anybody says. He's one of the funniest guys you will ever, if you ever get a chance to just sit in the room. C.O. Carter, Bishop C.O. Carter, was another one that I had the opportunity to have to just be around. That was Creflo Dollar's pastor. That's the church Creflo Dollar came out of, was Bishop C.L. Carter. All of them were friends with the late Bishop James Morton, who was also that listen. That you talk about boys that can hoop. Hooping is a different kind of it's a different experience when you get around some of those guys. Elliot Ivy is another. He's out of Oakland. Elliot Ivy, I got a chance to meet him several years ago, and because he was preaching, he would go to Texas to preach for a friend. I was his minister of music, and so we got to know each other. Leroy Elliott that's another crazy. That's a nut right there. I mean, these guys. You know, we done lost some of our coaching. We done lost some of my coaching friends already. But yeah, that's these are guys on a whole other. You don't go to like what is it the thing in Virginia, the preachers. I've never been. I won't go. Just 1 year, just to because I know most of the guys. I just have never been to the preachers. What is it called in Virginia? Somebody tell me what it is. Every year, but yeah, it's some real preachers out there, y'all. It's some real preachers that's not in the apostolic and or Pentecostal church. There's some real preachers out there that are some bad boys, and I promise you, you don't want to go there until you hear them preach. Yeah. Poison Ivy, Leroy Elliott, Hamptons. Thank you so much. Hamptons Ministers Conference. Yes. Philip Pointer, who's a friend, is one of the. I'm talking about one of the baddest preachers, one of the baddest. You listen, let me tell you something. Let me tell you something. If you're ever in Little Rock, Arkansas, you want to go and hear Dr. Philip Pointer, I promise you, that is a preacher you want to hear preach. I met him probably 13, 14 years ago now. It's when I first met him. Amazingly down-to-earth guy, funny, just a cool cat. But I'm talking about he is one of my favorite preachers, Dr. Philip Pointer out of Little Rock. He is one of my favorite preachers in the entire world. And yeah. Ivy in Oakland, he's one of those. Jerome Kirby, yes. I'm not familiar with Joe Hughes, but Jerome Kirby, yes. I'm gonna tell you who else. Archbishop Ash, Vernon Ash. Now if y'all ain't never heard Vernon Ash, then y'all don't like preaching. You all do not listen to preaching. You don't listen to preaching if you've never heard Vernon Ash. I promise you don't listen to preaching. Because that boy was something else. Yeah, he was something else as well. So Vernon Ash. Yeah, he was a house rat. Vernon Ash in 20 minutes could kill. Could kill him in 20 minutes. Now he wasn't gonna give you 20 minutes, but he could do it in 20 minutes. He said more in 20 minutes than most preachers say, in an hour of preaching. He was just that kind of guy. And but he got hurt by the church. I'm telling you, it's tough. It is tough to take some of these walks by yourself. And he was one of those that got. Who currently in coaching? That is a great question, Dr. Vaughn. That's a great question. Who currently is becoming coaching, or is that in coaching? I don't know. I don't know. I'm being honest with you. I think Nathaniel Green has the ability to become one of those guys. I think he has the ability to become one of those guys, but I don't know. He's got to break out of his circle. I think he's doing a little bit, but I think he's got to break out of. He's got to break out of that circle, that clique. I don't know. I don't know if they've all passed. I mean, Dennis Martin is still a beast. But we have lost a lot of them. Because of course you can't have that conversation without Nathan Simmons being in the conversation. We lost Bishop Noel Jones to the Apostolic Church. We lost him to the Apostolic Church. He left Texas and got out of coaching and went on over to the Apostolic Church. So we lost him. Yeah, Bishop G. Patterson, Chandler Owens. I mean, F.D. Washington, Harold Benjamin out of Philadelphia was an amazing preacher. We haven't heard Bishop Henderson in a while from Atlanta. We haven't heard him either. John Black. I mean, come on now. 40 years. Yeah, I think Nathaniel Green is a throwback. Linwood Dillard, I think, has that. If he doesn't, tends to be when, sometimes you get to a certain level, people lose it. And that's what I'm seeing right now. It doesn't elevate them, it kind of brings them down. So, Michael Golden. I think Michael Golden is I like the way he's going. I think Bishop Michael Golden is, he could be one of those guys. He could be a voice like him. Solid guy. Very personable. Always kind of laid back when I see him. Milton Timmons out of Texas is another guy. I think Milton Timmons. Roger Hinnings, you can't have that conversation without Roger Hinnings, that's for sure. Bishop Roger Hinnings, though, is kind of like, he's kind of coaching and not coaching all at the same time. He is, which I like. He's a crossover guy. Bishop Frank White is a crossover guy. He can cross over into Anthony Gilliard. Bishop Anthony Gilliard is a beast. You cannot go to sleep on him at all. He's becoming one of my favorite preachers. Bishop Anthony Gilliard, if you're ever in New Jersey, by the way, he's a different preacher in New Jersey than he is in Florida. I don't know if y'all know, but he's different in New Jersey than he is in Florida. I don't know what that is. Even though he's the same everywhere, but I'm just saying, it's a different anointing when he's at home in Jersey than when he's in Florida. But he's one of my favorite preachers. Bishop Anthony Gilliard, definitely one of my favorite preachers. Bishop Benjamin Stevens, smart guy, super smart guy. Comes out of West Angeles, but he's doing his own thing in Kansas. So, I'm trying to think who else maybe. So you start naming names, you get in trouble. James Felton. James Felton, who's that? I don't know James Felton. Oh, yes, I'm sorry. Jay Lewis Felton. I'm tripping. I've never seen James connected to the name. Jay Lewis. Yeah, I know that. Man, listen, that's a preacher. I got you. I was tripping, y'all. Y'all forgive me. I've never seen James. It's always Jay Lewis. Yeah, man. Jay Lewis Felton he's unfair. He's unfair. He's unfair because he is extremely. No, you good. I just was tripping for a minute. Took me a second. He's extremely trained, extremely educated. Obviously, 20 years in the Baptist church doing it at the highest level, and then to come back home and yeah, Jay Lewis Felton is something. Absolutely one of the greatest preachers. And any denomination, Kersey. Any denomination. Any denomination. Jay Lewis Felton is he's that guy. Yeah, he's that guy. He's intelligent without being overbearing. Yeah, he's a Lord's preacher. Absolutely, Mark. He is. If he's a preacher's preacher, but he's a people's preacher too, and he gives you just enough Black liberation theology wrapped up in Pentecostalism, wrapped up in methodology, wrapped up in Baptist seminary, classical training. He gives you all of that in one message, and takes you on that ride that you don't get off of. He does not. He's a different kind. I love good preaching. He's one of those. Oh, okay. He's in here now. Is he? He's in. What is that jurisdiction called? He's got. What's the jurisdiction called? I think it starts with a P up there, right? Tell me the name of your jurisdiction. I know when you say it. Because he's in Philly, but what's the name of the jurisdiction? It's something. It's a different kind of name. Conania. Okay. Okay. Yeah, I knew it was a different kind of name. Yeah, in Pennsylvania. Yeah, he is. And you know what? The fact that he gave up a major church to honor Bishop asking him to come and take that church. I mean, integrity, just integrity. Because he didn't have to leave where he was. They didn't want him to leave. Yeah. Bishop Felton was something else. He's something else. Yeah, he's got a bright future. Which is odd to say that because I think he's in his 60s, but he's got a bright future. He is he's one of the best. Rye succeeded Morris, that's right. Yeah. Trying to think who else. I don't know, because we don't hear a lot of our young preachers. We don't hear a lot of guys in their 30s, 40s, 50s. They're not platforming them. We used to do that. That's how we knew who was coming up. But these, most of our bishops now in the 60s, they just trying to hold on to being bishops. So they don't want you to see who's next. Yeah, Bishop. Yeah, Bishop. I think Bishop Morris is still with us, right? Yeah. No, our best preachers don't preach at our meetings. No, not at all. No, the best preachers in COLBY are not showcased right now. Because again, you got to remember, most of our national leaders are either contemporaries or advanced big brothers. Fathers showcase sons. Brothers do not. They compete. Hear me when I say that. Fathers showcase sons. Brothers do not. They compete. So most of our best you haven't seen, and you won't see. And then a lot of them that are really good. You got somebody calling some blogger somewhere, trying to throw some kind of dirt on them, and kill them before they ever even get going. So. Yeah, we do. Yeah, we do. But right now, if you're not in that, again, if you're not in that clique, they're not preaching you. If you're not in that clique, you're not getting heard on those national stages. And so you see a lot of people having to create their own stage, and then when they do that, they don't want to be a part of the national church because they feel like the national church did nothing to help them. They don't want to be a part of their jurisdiction because their bishop did nothing to help them. You got bishops, got churches that's empty, and including their own, because they only having one service. They have a service at 9, 10 o'clock on Sunday, then they building sits empty for the rest of the day. You got pastors, and your pastors are having to spend money on buildings when they could be in your building at 4 o'clock. When Paul Morton came to Atlanta, Paul Morton didn't look for a building. Paul Morton started changing a generation in his brother's church. James Morton opened up his church at 4 o'clock. I played for his first few services before PJ and all of he started getting people, and I went and helped him open that up when he first went to Atlanta. And so he was having it right there at Bishop James Morton's church, 4 o'clock in the afternoon. But then they ask you to be loyal and all kinds of other things. Listen, y'all, it's been a fun show. It really has been fun. Thank you all for tuning in. Thank everyone who's watched, everyone who's gonna watch later on. Thank you all for watching. Thanks for being part. Thank you for your comments. I do not see every comment. I don't see every comment after the show is over. Some comments come in, some don't. Most of them don't. Probably 99% don't come in to me. So if you want me to know something, you gotta shoot me an email at the same place you send the Zelle. You shoot the email, and that is heatshow.comments@gmail. If you are looking for me to give you a call or you want to talk about something, you gotta shoot the email, because other than that, I don't see it. Those emails do come directly to me, so I do see those emails that come. I'm on them, so I see them. CC'd on everything that comes in. Hey, Dr. Banks, good to see you tonight. Thank you for coming in. Thank you to I think we are at, I don't know who will join us tonight, but thank you to those who have already partnered with our 25 partners. For those who become partners, thank you. For those who have sold the 25, who just decided, hey, I'm gonna just donate $25 to support the platform because I like what you do, Jordan. Keep on what you're doing. Thank you for that. Those who have given 10 and 5, and even those who have given 1,500 before, thank you for that. We're still looking for 11. I don't know if it's still 11 because I don't know how many people may have decided to become a partner tonight while we were on. But I do know that we're still in need of 11 partners on the 25-25. Okay, so that's 11 people who say, "Listen, man, I like what you're doing. I want to be a part of it, and I want to become a partner. I want to become part of this thing that you're getting ready to do. That's going to help craft and move the church forward and kind of change the way we do things." If that's you, then make sure you Cash App to $Heat Show or Zelle to Heat Show comments@gmail, $25, and write in the memo. One of 25. What do I think about Dr. Shane Perry? I'm praying for him. Church, listen, let me tell you something. Church hurt only happens to people who are in church. When you become disillusioned with what it is that you believe, talk about what you believe, it is because something has happened. And 9 times out of 10, it has happened at a very high level for you. And so I'm praying for him, not because he needs my prayers. He's a grown man. He can make whatever decisions he wants to make. I'm not praying for him like he's a sinner lost and can't be found. None of that. I'm praying for the hurt that he most assuredly feels. He's been hurt in 2 major places personally, in his personal life and then in his church life. And so when that happens and you get disappointed by leadership, and you get disappointed by people, and you get disappointed by life, it can cause you to reevaluate everything thing it is that you think you know about this God you say you believe in. And you don't really know how much faith you have until your faith is tested. You don't know what you really believe until what you believe is tested. And I believe what he believes has been tested to a point that it has shaken what he believed. And so for that, the Bible says when you find your brother overtaken, not just in fault, but overtaken, then we who are spiritual, we lift him up. So I'm praying for him. He is an amazing preacher. He's still an amazing preacher right now, today. People never forget gifts and callings. This is what God did this. God did this. God did this. Say it one more time. God did this. Gifts and callings both come without repentance. Can you imagine that you be gifted to preach and called to preach, and you don't even have to repent? You don't even have to be saved. That's deeper for a whole deeper another show on another day. But Tina, you're not finna get me caught up tonight. But that's a whole other conversation for a whole other day. So bring this up again on another show, and I promise you we get into this, because the depth, the real depth of this, that understanding will explain to you, to Shane and a whole lot of other people, why you can see some of the things that you see. And I can give you the scripture to back that up, but it explains some things to you and why the mistake is to be looking at the people in the first place. Thank you, Dr. Phil. Yes, Pastor One. Pastor One, let me finish with this, and then I'm out of here. I promise. 5 minutes. Let's roll with it. Pastor Marvin Lawrence. Listen, I thank God for all of y'all that are praying for Bishop Winans. I am not. I'm gonna tell you why. Because Bishop Winans said he's fine and that nothing happened. Now, let me say this to us. If we have any Caucasian brothers and sisters in the room, thank y'all, but I'm not talking to y'all for just a minute. I'm talking to us. We have to stop lying. Okay. It does us in our community no good. No one passes out for no reason. Oh, it's just an aberration that happened. I don't know why it happened. No one passes out for no reason. Dehydration, burnout. I mean, thank you. You ain't ate nothing. Your potassium is low. Your medication is too high. Your blood pressure dropped too low. Your blood pressure went up too high. Something happened. And instead of helping some people and telling the truth and saying, hey, first of all, you just told us, and I know you got to say this because you told us one week that you were diagnosed with cancer, and oh my God, they told me it's looking bad, and then you went over there with Bishop Sheard, and the next Sunday said you had been delivered, you've been healed. We got to stop. Y'all, we got to stop. We got to stop. We have to stop. I share with you all my what I went through, because hopefully I can help somebody else going through that, and telling you, hey, stress is real, and making sure that you don't let things that are happening personally, there are times where they can mentally weigh you down. You don't even know that you're being weighed down, and then you listen to your body, and your body is telling you, listen, The one lesson that we can learn is don't do what Bishop Winans is doing right now. Would y'all do me that favor? Let your family love on you. Let your friends love on you. Let people love on you. Let people help you. And tell people what's really going on. Because we die earlier than any race in this country. We die earlier than any race. And most of the time it's unnecessary. We die of stuff that other people live with. Most things we get become death sentences for us when it's unnecessary. That's why I push specifically the sponsored total health. Because we won't even just get health insurance. And most of the time, they help people to, get health insurance, $5, $10, $15 a month for your Blue Cross Blue Shield. And I'm not promoting that in this moment. What I'm trying to tell you is what that allows is that what separates us from our Caucasian brothers and sisters is they go to the doctor. They get regular checkups like normal people, right? They go to the dentist, do regular maintenance, do regular stuff. That's right. We die from soul food. We die from stuff. And here's what's crazy. Soul food don't kill you. It's your inability to understand that carbs are not your friend. Or your inability to get up and go for a walk before you go to bed. Imagine you just get up and go walk around your neighborhood 30 minutes before you go to bed, and that would solve so many things. Or because you don't drink enough water and you don't know how much water you should be drinking. Why? Because you don't have a primary care provider. You don't have a regular, just primary care provider. Your health plan is the emergency room. That is not a health plan. It is. It is overwhelmingly alarming how many Black preachers die from just, not to mention the raising of cortisol is one of the leading factors of Alzheimer's and dementia. And we're getting in more Parkinson's. We're getting in more diseases that you never saw. Black folk get. We're getting. Suicide used to not be a thing in Black community. But you can literally go see a therapist at no cost. It costs you a dime to go see a therapist if you just get some insurance. That don't cost you a dime to get that in. And then we say stuff like, get up the next day, oh, everything was all right. I don't know what happened, y'all. They just overblew that. They blew that out the water. No, Bishop, you passed out in front of the camera. Everybody saw. You hit the ground head first. In your 70s. People don't do that. So when I say I'm not praying because he's not asking to pray. He's saying everything is okay. He's saying everything is wonderful. If you don't take nothing else from this show tonight, take that, please. If you don't, if you're not gonna call the sponsor, would you please call somebody and find you if you do not have health insurance? Please get you some. There's no excuse. These social. You're right, Phil. I forgot about that. These. If one more person says this is an adjective problem, He was up teaching Bible study. If you're not looking at him, now most adjutants are normally sitting behind the person that they serve or sitting off to the side. So you may not have seen his eyes going. I blame the people sitting on the front row more than anything. But at the end of the day, he sounded fine up until he didn't. If you seen the video, he just seemed normal. And then, yeah, probably 10 seconds before he hit the ground, you knew he was getting ready to hit the ground. I don't know what, I don't know where the adjutants were. I don't even know if he has adjutants, to tell you right, because a lot of times we'll put people in the same category as what we are familiar with. In our church, every bishop has adjutants. I don't even know if every bishop in the Catholic Church has adjutants. I know some Catholic bishops, but I've never seen no adjutants. So it just depends. I don't know his setup. So to be calling for his adjutants, I don't know who his adjutants are, and I don't know if they were there. And at the end of the day, whatever caused it, I hope he takes care of it and gets taken care of. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's stress Sister Tina is 100% stress. Man, if y'all don't get nothing else, stress will kill you. Stress will kill you. He's doing a lot of things. He's under pressure from the city. He's under pressure from these lenders. He's under pressure from people. And when you're fighting cancer, you got a lot going on. But again, you got to be honest. And I think he had a teachable moment that he missed. And I hope that we don't miss it moving forward. That's one of the things I do like about our presiding bishop when he talked about his mental health challenges, losing his parents and nearly losing his wife, and needing therapy or counseling, whatever. Those are things that I'm telling you, I like the presiding bishop when his instincts are when he's just being himself, he's a great leader. Talking about what he had to go through with his daughter and putting that out there. So, being touchable and relatable. To know what it is to have to make a decision whether or not to, as you be saved all day and still may need to make a decision about an abortion and have a presiding bishop who says, I know what that is. I know what that means. I know what that is to sit with my family and have to do that. To have to deal with death and have to deal with real life issues. That makes me like him. He just has horrible advisors. I think his instincts are good. I like that he is transparent. I wish Bishop Winans would have done. And so that's my take on that. I hope we all do better moving forward. And then again, if Bishop Winans had what is known as a key man insurance policy, he wouldn't have to stress, because if he died tomorrow, his church would be paid off. Anyway, I said that. Thank you, y'all. Love you. Thank you all for watching. I'm getting out of here. I'm 30 minutes over time. Thank you all who are partnering with us. Thank you for supporting us. We're going to see y'all again this week. We're going to see y'all again this week. We're going to talk about something. I don't forget what it is right now. It is not on top of my mind because clearly I'm tired at this point. But next Sunday, we're going to be talking about General Assembly and going through the top 20 motions and things that you need to know for General Assembly as it relates to Robert's Rules of Order. All right, would y'all pray for me? Would y'all do that for me? As I pray for y'all, God, we thank you for this opportunity. Thank you for this time to share, for family to get together and have a good conversation. God, we pray that we've said something that will be a blessing to your people. We pray that we said something that will be a blessing to the leadership of this church. We pray that they hear not only our voice, but our hearts. And that God, you would give us, even as delegates, as members, even as just supporters and lovers of this church, things that we'll be able to say to some of our neighbors, some of our friends, some of our co-workers and colleagues that would be a blessing to the fulfillment of the vision that you've given for this church. I really believe that just as you told Bishop Mason all those years ago, that if we follow the vision, if we follow the Constitution, there'll never be a place large enough to hold us. And God, I really do believe that. God, give us wisdom, give every delegate wisdom, give every leader wisdom, give every appointed person wisdom, give every pastor wisdom of how to go in and out amongst your people. God, we pray now, even for our political candidates and leaders. God, give us the wisdom to choose who it is that will lead us in a way that will not harm and not destroy the country, but God, that will unify the country, that will give us an opportunity for you to be lifted up. For your word declares, if you be lifted up, you draw all men, doesn't matter who they are, unto you. And so, God, we just ask that you give us the wisdom of who to choose and how to choose and where to go and how to get there. God, you said if we acknowledge you in all our ways, you would direct our path. And so, God, we pray now that you give us clear and clarity and direction. Bless our homes. Bless our rest. Let us rest with sweet rest and sweet peace. Bless our families, our children, our parents, siblings, those who are with us, those who have gone before us. God, we pray now that you do everything just as you do it, which is well. And God, we will trust you for everything, and we will doubt you for absolutely nothing, because you are God and it cannot be otherwise. In Jesus Christ's name we pray. Amen and amen. We'll see y'all later.